Hello students, welcome back to my class. In today's video, I'll be going to talk about the fourth lesson of your book. The name of the lesson is The Canterville Coast. This lesson is not actually the whole story. This is an extract taken from the book The Canterville Coast, written by Oscar Wilde. Let's see what happens here. When Mr. Otis, this is the first character, a wealthy American, buys Canterville Chase, everyone warns him that the manor is haunted. Manor here is house, the house. The ghost of Sir Simon de Canterville, an English nobleman who had lived in this manor, does his utmost to frighten the Otis family. Read this passage to find out how the family deals with the unusual happenings in the manor. Now, when I explain this lesson word by word, line by line, then you should make sure that keep your book in front of you and go through the sentences that I say. The storm raged fiercely all that night, but nothing of particular note occurred. The next morning, however, when they came down to breakfast, they found a terrible stain of blood once again on the floor. So they found when the family, they already shifted in that house where the ghost of Sir Simon de Canterville was there. And the next day in the morning when they came for breakfast, they saw stains of blood on the floor. I don't think it can be the fault of the Paragon detergent, said Washington Otis, for I have tried it with everything. It must be the ghost. So this is the name of his son, Washington Otis. He's saying that I have already previously also this thing happened. They saw the stain of blood on the floor and they cleaned it. Next day again in the morning they saw it. Then his son said that we have already cleaned it with a detergent, still it is left. So it must be the work of the ghost here. He accordingly rubbed out the stain a second time, but the second morning it appeared again. The third morning also it was there, though the library had been locked up at night by Mr. Otis himself and the key carried upstairs. So thrice they witnessed this paranormal activity that was happening in the house. For the third time they noticed the stain of blood on the floor. The whole family were now quite interested. Mr. Otis began to suspect that he had been too rigid in his denial of the existence of ghosts. Mrs. Otis, the wife of Mr. Otis, expressed her intention of joining the Psychical Society, and Washington prepared a long letter to Messrs. Mayers and Podmore on the subject of the permanence of sanguineous stains when connected with crime. So they became interested, because previously they denied the existence of ghosts in the house, but later when they saw the stains of blood on the floor, they got sure about it. That night all doubts about the objective existence of phantasmata were removed forever. So phantasmata here means the ghost. The day had been warm and sunny. In the cool of the evening, the whole family went out to drive. They did not return home till 9 o'clock. When they had a light supper, the conversation in no way turned upon the ghost. The subjects discussed, as I have since learned from Mr. Otis, were merely such as form the ordinary conversation, such as the immense superiority of Miss Fanny Devonport over Sarah Bernhardt as an actress, the difficulty of obtaining green corn, buckwheat cakes, and hominy even in the best English houses, the importance of Boston in the development of the world soul, the advantages of the baggage check system in railway travelling, and the sweetness of the New York accent as compared to the London drawl. No mention at all was made of the supernatural, nor was Sir Simon de Canterville alluded to in any way. So here they didn't want to engage themselves in the discussion of ghosts. So they were discussing about actress, these other kinds of things, to divert their minds from the topic of ghost. Then what happened? And they also went outside, and this conversation was going on outside. They went for a drive. At 11 o'clock the family retired, and by 1:30 all the lights were out. So 11 o'clock they returned, and 11:30 all the lights were off. Sometime after, Mr. Otis was awakened by a curious noise in his room. It sounded like the clang of metal and seemed to be coming nearer every moment. He got up at once, struck a match and looked at the time. It was exactly 1 o'clock. He was quite calm and felt his pulse, which was not at all feverish. While they were about to sleep, Mr. Otis, he heard some curious noise, some unusual noise, and it was like the sound of metal clanging with each other. So what he did, he took a match, lit, and he tried to investigate from where the sound is coming. The strange noise still continued, and with it he heard distinctly the sound of footsteps. He put on his slippers, took a small oblong file out of his dressing case, and opened the door. Right in front of him, he saw, in the wan moonlight, an old man of terrible aspects. Now he encountered the ghost in front of him. His eyes were as red. This is the description of the ghost given. His eyes were as red, burning coals. Long grey hair fell over his shoulders in matted coils. His garments, which were of antique cut, were soiled and ragged, and from his wrists and ankles hung heavy manacles and rusty gyves. So long, big chains were hung around his ankles. You can see in the picture also, page number 29. The picture itself is given here. If you see the picture, the image of the ghost, the attire, very unusual aspect with long hair and feet, and he had big heavy manacles worn over his hands, wrist, and also around his ankles. Now the twist comes here. "My dear sir," said Mr. Otis, "I really must insist on your oiling those chains, and have brought you for that purpose a small bottle of Tammany Rising Sun Lubricator. It is said to be completely effective upon one application, and there are several testimonials to that effect on the vapor from some of our most eminent native divines. I shall leave it here for you by the bedroom candles, and will be happy to supply you with more, should you require it." So it was like an insult to the ghost. Mr. Otis, instead of getting frightened by the appearance of the ghost, he said that, "Please apply some lubricant. So apply some lubricant, some oil on these manacles, so that it doesn't make noise, because they feel very uncomfortable sleeping at night out of this noise, unusual sound." With these words, the United States, and also he said that, "If you need more lubricants, I can provide you." And he kept the bottle for his convenience. With these words, the United States minister laid the bottle down on a marble table, and closing his door, retired to rest. So he kept the bottle on the table, and he went to his room to take rest. For a moment, the Canterville ghost stood quite motionless in natural indignation. Then, dashing the bottle violently upon the polished floor, he fled down the corridor, uttering hollow groans and emitting a ghastly green light. The Canterville ghost now was very surprised by Mr. Otis' behavior, that why, instead of being afraid, being scared of him, he actually suggested him a bottle of lubricant. He gave him a bottle of lubricant in order to apply it on his heavy manacles that he was wearing on his wrist and ankles. Just, however, as he reached the top of the great oak staircase, a door was flung open. Two little white-robed figures appeared, and a large pillow whizzed past his head. There was evidently no time to be lost, so hastily adopting the fourth dimension of space as a means of escape, he vanished through the wainscoting, and the house became quite quiet. And these two figures, who were those two figures? The children. Mr. Otis' children. You can see the picture in the image that is provided on page number 29. You can see it, that how they were scaring him, how they were making the ghost frightened by throwing the pillow on him. On reaching a small secret chamber in the left wing, he leaned up against a moonbeam to recover his breath, and began to try and realize his position. Now he is doubtful about his position. Is he a ghost? Are people afraid of him anymore? So he was worried about his position. Never in a brilliant and uninterrupted career of 300 years had he been so grossly insulted. So his ghost was actually roaming from 300 years. and he has not felt insulted, never felt insulted like this before. He thought of the Dogger Duchess whom he had. So these, now he is reminiscing, he is remembering about all the incidents, all the cases that had happened because of his paranormal activities. Who are the people whom he was able to frighten? Whom he had frightened into a fit as she stood before the glass in her lace and diamonds, of the 4 housemaids who had gone into hysterics when he merely grinned at them through the curtains in one of the spare bedrooms, of the rector of the parish, whose candle he had blown out as he was coming late one night from the library. So these are the things that he used to do, activities. And who had been under the care of Sir William Gull and of old Madame de Tremolec, who, having wakened up one morning early and seen a skeleton seated in an armchair by the fire reading her diary, had been confined to her bed for 6 weeks and with an attack of brain fever. He remembered the terrible night when the wicked Lord Canterville was found choking in his dressing room with the knave of diamonds halfway down his throat, and confessed that he had cheated Charles James Fox out of £50,000 at Crockford by means of that very card, and swore that the ghost had made him swallow it. These were the incidents that he was able to do with people. He was able to scare people, but this is the first time that happened with him, that these people were not at all afraid of him anymore. So he was feeling very insulted. All his great achievements came back to him again. With the enthusiastic egotism of the true artist, he went over his most celebrated performances and smiled bitterly to himself as he recalled to mind his last appearance as Red Ribbon, his debut as Gaunt Gibbon, and the furore he had excited one lovely June evening by merely playing ninepins with his own bones upon the lawn tennis ground. So these some kinds of paranormal activities. He was playing ninepins is a kind of game with his own bones. So obviously, if anyone will see, will faint. All these kinds of paranormal activities. And after all this, some wrenched modern Americans were to come and offer him the Rising Sun lubricator and throw pillows at his head. So how is this possible? I have frightened, I have scared so many people. People have died. People have even died. Now he is thinking that from where these people came, and they are frightening him back. Also offering him a lubricant to apply on his manacles. It was quite unbearable. Also, along with that, Mr. Otis did, he suggested the lubricant, he offered the lubricant, and also his children, they also threw pillow on at his head. So he was not able to bear that. It was quite unbearable. Besides, no ghost in history had ever been treated in this manner. He felt very insulted. Accordingly, he determined to have vengeance and remained till daylight in an attitude of deep thought. So he went away from that place, from their living room, and he went in a corner, and he was thinking that he will take revenge of this insult. And in this way, this lesson gets ended. This is an extract, and this is not the whole story. The rest of the story is to be continued. If you want to read the whole story, then you can read the book. You can get it on Google Book also, The Canterville Ghost. You will get the whole story of it. So this was all about the lesson. I hope you all have understood. Please go through the text once again, and while you watch this video, make sure that you are also going through your book. Then it will be better for understanding. Thank you for watching.